All right. All righty. So, and going to go back to my screen so I can also see it to present today's presentation. I'm excited, I'm a little nervous too. It's the working definitions of resilience. Um, by myself, Sayy Hall. I am a certified peer recovery specialist and also a CEO of Adaptive Healing LLC, peer-based support services. And I'm here today with Miss Charlotte Talley. Charlotte?
Yes, I'm Charlotte Talley. I'm a family support partner with Family Support Partners of Virginia Incorporated. I have been a support partner now for 3 years, and in having a conversation with Ms. Hall in regard to resilience, we thought that it might be great to share our experiences.
Yeah, so it's just a conversation and a discussion that we're having on different perspectives on how people see resilience and what it means to them. We get so bogged down with the basic definitions, someone else's definitions, and we hear these words thrown around all the time, and no one really understands either what it means or they try to figure out how to put their situation or compare their situation in order to figure out what the resilience in it is and how to do it. Sometimes when I first started hearing about resilience and recovery and mental illness and what that looks like, yeah, I have, of course, like many of us, we look up the definitions and we try to figure out if we meet the criteria. So we're just having a discussion to show that there is no absolute criteria in order to have resilience or to go through recovery in a specific way. So I'm going to start with about me a little bit more. My name is Sayy Hall. I am a certified peer recovery specialist. I have vast titles, wear many hats like many of us. But first, I'm a woman who's learning each day what it means to recover and not just making it through, but learning to live. To not just survive until the next crisis or traumatic event. At least that's my goal. I'm a single mother of 4, and my eldest son is now an ancestor. He passed away in 2019. I'm a caregiver, a sister, a daughter, and a cousin, and most importantly, someone that is continuing to understand her recovery through mental health stressors derived from continuous traumatic experiences, like many of us. I am the CEO for Adaptive Healing, a peer-based mental health healing and wellness support service. And my goals in life are to continue to change, as I learn and grow each day. And so my purpose is to find out what makes me happy, successful, and to be able to provide that to my family. And the materials here are referenced. Um, they are cited from multiple of materials, resources, very good resources at that. So I just wanted to have a base for the conversation going forward. Thank you.
Hi, and again, I'm Charlotte Talley. I too have many different roles and wear a variety of hats in my life. I'm now on a generation of children that I'm raising. I have 3 adult sons that are my biological children, and then raised my niece and my nephew, and currently raising my great nephews. 2 wonderful boys that have mental health challenges and autism diagnoses. I shared with you that I am a family support partner. One of the great joys that I have is supporting other families to become stronger and build on the resilience that they have to forward so that they as a family can be strengthened and they can goals and family vision. That is the biggest part of the role, is really supporting families in that way that helps them to reach what they see for themselves. I think that for me, being part of this conversation reflects my own journey in recovery and overcoming the habits, hurts, and experienced early on in my childhood, and one that I continue.
And I apologize if there's any backgrounds or noises. As we know, we are home and we're doing our best to make it through, just like many of you all. And if there's any technical difficulties, again, I apologize. As it's been several months, and technology and working out with these videos and discussions online and from home are still just a little getting to and complicated. As we move through, this is a definition of what resilience provides. It's from the verywellmind.com. And I'll read a little bit of it here, and then we'll just talk about the content. Resilience does not eliminate stress or ease life's difficulties. People who possess this resilience don't see life through rose-colored lenses, which is absolutely true. They understand that setbacks happen and that sometimes life is hard and painful. They still experience the emotional pain, grief, sense of loss that comes after a tragedy. But their mental outlook allows them to work through such feelings and recover. Instead, resilience gives people the strength to tackle problems head on, overcome adversity, and move on with their lives. We'll get back to that part. In the wake of trauma such as the 9/11 attacks and Hurricane Katrina disaster, many individuals demonstrated the behaviors that typify resilience. Not only were they able to remain strong in the face of almost unbearable, they were able to carry on and even offer emotional support to others affected by the same tragedies. Even in the face of events that seems utterly unimaginable, resilience allows people to marshal the strength to not just survive, but to prosper. Um, did you want to start with your thoughts on this, Charlotte?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you, Saida. When I think in terms of my own life and resilience, and so many times I hear people talking about the ability to draw on their strength and move on. As we understand the setbacks that do happen, I think in my life, what I realized is that I didn't have a great foundation to build on. And so it wasn't a matter of just moving forward as much as it was figuring out where I was to begin with. And I share a story many times as I share my life story. I share the story of myself as a 9-year-old girl who oftentimes preferred to be alone. I had a bit of a speech impediment and kind of stuttered. And so I felt more comfortable alone than I did with my peers, certainly in school and in my neighborhood. But I would oftentimes go out to the edge of our property, the home where we lived, and there was this stone wall. And there were trees that bordered the stone wall on each side. I would walk the stone wall and I would talk to the sky. And what I come to realize is that as I was talking, that I was really talking to God. God has understood him to be the one who created the heavens and earth and me. And I had a thought one day that I think was from God, and it was I was created for a purpose, that God had a plan for my life. And so for me, that's where my foundation began, is having that understanding that my life had purpose, that there was a reason for it, even if at that time I didn't know what that purpose was. And so to me, my resilience is really based on that foundation of understanding. And I found it to be of great help to me in the midst of the difficulties in my life, the setbacks, the pain and the grief and the loss, in dealing with my childhood trauma. I didn't do that well. My recovery was much of a fit kind of start and stop sort of process. But I found that as I walked into a faith community where they were talking some of that similar language that I experienced in my own little place on that stone wall when I was 9 years old, that I really began to grow. I really began to recover and heal from the hurts. I began to deal with the pain, and in that process, understand my own need to forgive others as well as to forgive myself. And so I believe that that which propels us forward is what is deep within us about what we believe and what we value.
Yes, thank you so very much for sharing that with us, Charlotte. And for the most part, I have to agree. And as Charlotte pointed out, it's not necessarily after you become an adult. These things that come within us can start to affect us at a very young age. To like where it says here, I wanted to point out. Instead, resilience gives people the strength to tackle problems head on, overcome adversity, and move on with their lives. And the reason I wanted to touch back with that is when you're going through recovery from anything that ails us and troubles us and that dwells in us, I don't know if we're just moving on with our lives. And for myself, like many of you may, to read something like that tells me that it's an end, that at some point you'll just get over everything, tackle that one problem, and you'll move
Mhm.
on. And I think wording and the way things are said and presented to us really matter, because I would look at this and figure, well, why haven't I moved on? Is it something else that I need to tackle? What is wrong with me? And it's not anything wrong. If you haven't moved on and you haven't figured out how to what it says to tackle certain problems head on, it doesn't mean you don't have resilience. It just means you haven't found those tools within you, or it hasn't come upon you, and you haven't discovered what it is that you need in order to go through what it is that you're going through.
I think that's a great point, Saida. And some of us don't really, early on, really know what that looks like.
And that's, yeah, and it's
What
so
is
true.
that? What is that we have to dig down deep um, within ourselves that gives us that strength? And I don't think that it's a matter of moving on with our lives, like Saeed is saying. I think it is a process. It's very much a process. And as much as we may have success in our recovery today, hopefully we'll have greater success, greater
Yeah.
experiences with healing from the pain and whatever darkness or trauma that we've experienced. But it doesn't mean that we don't have resilience today. Resilience is part of that process. It's part of the dynamic that helps to propel us forward.
Yeah. That's so true.
I wonder, Saida, if um, I talked a little bit about some of the fits and starts that I had in my life where I wasn't doing as well in my recovery. I wonder if you might want to talk a little bit about the aspect of it.
Okay. Well, what I can speak on is it's like what Charlotte was saying. It's sometimes you don't know when it starts when people talk about recovery and resilience. Because like for myself, at a young age, I don't really know where it is that we would be recovering from, as
Mhm.
pointed out, because you could be a child. We don't know when did this tragedy, when did this stress, when did this disconnect happen with us that propelled us into becoming someone different. Something changed within us at
Mhm.
that time. We can be as far back as 4 years old when people say recovery and having resilience. And to go back, like I'm gonna read this here really quickly here. It says most people with mental health problems can't can get better. Treatment and recovery are ongoing processes that happen over time. And the first step is getting help.
Mhm.
um, we'll get back to that also. Recovery from mental disorders and substance abuse disorders is a process of change through which individuals improve their health and wellness, live a self-directed life, strive to achieve their full potential. And then it lists here the four um, dimensions support a life in recovery, which is health, home, purpose, and community. But as it stated up front, like the first step is getting help. Well, the first step for many of us is to first understand and recognize, which would be like a pre-contemplation. Do we even have anything wrong? What is wrong
Yeah.
with us in the first place? Why do I need to recover through anything? And again, if you're a child and at a young age and things are happening to you, the only thing you can think to yourself, for myself, is this must be my life. My life must be just this awful. And maybe it's not awful. Maybe it's just what it is. And I'm never supposed to feel, or I can't feel any different. And maybe I should just be happy with what I have. But then you find yourself, even as at a young age, wishing for change, things to be different, especially if you're growing up with an abusive home or domestic violence, or a parent is not there. All of these things affect us in so many big ways. Like for myself, my parents weren't there. I was raised by a caregiver, which was my grandmother. And then, I had other family in the home, and it was domestic violence. It was abusive situations and relationships. And that was my everyday norm. And every
Mhm.
day I fought to figure out what I should do and where do I fit in, because I've always felt so outcasted within my family. It was times where I
Mhm.
planned to run away, either that or to just leave the world completely, and that would call it a day. And at a young age, it was just maybe if I wasn't living any longer or being here any longer, then they would regret everything that's gone wrong here and wish I was back. But
Mm.
then, even then, it was scary because it's like, what if I leave? How would I even know? Because I can't come back, you know. And to have those feelings and those thoughts as a child, again, when you're trying to learn how to get past and move on and wait for your future to start, where this is not happening, um, it takes a lot of tools. And for me, it was a lot of praying and being thankful at some point that our deacons at our church picked us up every day for Sunday school. And I wasn't interested, but at some it was a verse somewhere, and I still don't know what it is. I wanted to be as authentic as possible and not look it up even now, where it says, God was like, the higher power in him was like, get behind me. Whatever the hate, whatever the evil, whatever our Satan's and stuff was, and we're walking into the light. And that's what I always just held on to. Through all my fears, I just try to look forward, not turn around, and just look for whatever light is there, that I can grasp, to know that this may not be my life for the rest of my life, but it just surely was taking so very long for change to happen. And and I don't want to go on, but I know, like many of us, you wait to get older to prove to everybody that you do belong, that you should be here, and you fight for that. And recovery and resilience, because mine most certainly was just to hold on, and to prove to everybody how wrong they were. It was a lot of anger, a lot of anger that kept me going. It just fueled the fire until some point it changed to where I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. That I just wanted to succeed and be the best me for myself. And if anybody else didn't like or understand that,
Mhm.
then oh well.
Yeah, I
But
do think, I do like one of the things that it talks about in here, this talking about recovery being possible. I think the definition and what is recovery and the dimensions of recovery this lays it out quite well. But I think for all of us, we have a different understanding of recovery in the sense that what really does improve health and wellness. What is a self-directed life? Some people don't know what self-directed life is, where you have the ability and the opportunity to make choices that align with your values and your beliefs, as well as your goals, your dreams, hope for you and your family, and then striving to achieve your full potential. Well, unfortunately, some of us don't know what that means. What is our full potential? We don't understand all of the gifts and the talents that we have. And so I think recovery is that process of understanding, coming to understand who we are, coming to understand what gifts and talents we have, and where else can we learn more to be a better version of ourselves and a better reflection of the values and beliefs that we hold. I think that I like what Sayy said in regard to really not knowing which way you want to go. Do you want to end it all and just be done with it? Or is there a possibility to move forward? I think that's a real basic pre-contemplation to the recovery process, is being able to make those assessments. We don't always make good choices as we make that assessment, and sometimes we need someone else to help us along the way.
yeah, thank you so very much, Charlotte, because it's the truth, and it gives you a different perspective and a different way of looking at what does recovery mean to you, what it looks like for you, because it's not the same for everybody.
That's right.
Everybody doesn't walk the same path. Everybody is not coming from the same direction. Even to many of us, it looks like it, but it's just not so. Even siblings that live in the same household are
Yes.
on two completely different paths. And I know it blows your mind, because it blows my mind sometimes. It's like everybody grew up the same way. Everybody had the same things going on in the same household, the same care, the same love, the same restrictions, the same ups and the same downs. So why are everybody so different? Because that's who we are, because everybody is not made or wired the same way. We all can't
Yeah.
accept, and we all don't understand, we all don't learn, and we all don't grow the same. And
Yeah.
that's why, it's just completely different. It's different for everyone. And
Yeah.
that's where empathy comes in. It's like, I'm not saying that I completely understand, but I can say through my experience, I have some idea of what you're going through. I don't know exactly how you feel, but I know what these feelings right here feel like.
Mhm.
In my own recovery, in my own path, in my own tragedies, and in my own situation.
And I
And
think I think Saida, that's why we do the work we do, right? Because
yeah,
we have our own experiences that we can share with others. We can empathize because we've been through some of these different challenges. And not that they're exactly the same, because they're not. Our experience is our experience. However, we can support each other.
Yeah. And that's the
Process.
Yeah, and that's the wonderful thing, as just Charlotte pointed out, is being a family support partner and a sort of and a peer recovery specialist and a peer supporter and a peer partner. And those are just names and titles, for different people in the fields of work. But those names go along with aunts, uncles, grandparents, our caregivers, people that just step up to comfort us and to be with us and to, to show us from their lived experience what they went through and how they worked through it, just to give us some hope and motivation to be able to do the same thing, to know that it's not a lost cause, And as Charlotte pointed out, one of the first things on here says most people with mental health problems can get better, and recovery comes with knowing that and having hope and building on that. Thank you. Here's another definition of resilience that some of us may see throughout our time is the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties, toughness, the often remarkable resilience of so many British institutions, the ability of a substance or object to spring back into shape, elasticity. Reading that when I first learned about resilience is one of the main definitions that kind of threw me off, because everybody was using these words like spring back, recover quickly. And this is not for us. So just for those that are watching, and I know this has been out for a while and you see these videos all the time, but it's always someone new that don't know, that haven't seen it. And this will be for them. Please don't get discouraged if you don't meet this definition. It's not for you. It's not for many of us. To recover quickly, I don't know what that feels like. So yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, this doesn't meet the criteria of us.
No, I think, Saida, I've spent the better part of 40 years recovering, in the process of recovering and healing. With resilience, it does help me to get back up. I've fallen down. It does help me to get ground, but I don't think that it really has me to come back from something. I think that for me, there was nothing to go back to. It was a matter of building, move forward.
Yeah, steps to move forward. Yeah. And that's the same for many of us. We don't have a back to go to, because who were we at 3, 4, and 5? What was our mindset? Who were we going to be? Those are things that we may never know and understand. But who we are now, what we're building to now, what are our steps going forward? Now that is something we can look forward to, and we'll have a lot of input on, and moving forward, rather than trying to figure out how to go back and come back from, because like Charlotte pointed out, many of us back to go back to, and some of us might not want to go back to that is which what we're recovering from is where we were. Charlotte, did you want to read this?
Sure. And this is an article from Psychology Today. Describes it this way: resilience is that ineffable quality that allows some people to be knocked down by life and come back stronger than ever, rather than letting failure overcome them and drain their resolve. They find a way to rise from the ashes. In a nutshell, resilience can be defined as the ability or tendency to bounce back that's the one definition I think Sayy and I have a difficult from, that
Yeah.
whole idea of bouncing back. So let's look at the bouncing back meaning. Bouncing back is what we do when we face disappointment, defeat. But instead of wallowing or letting things keep us down, we get back and continue on with our lives. There was no continuing on with my life because for me, continuing on would have meant being in the same place and relationships that I was in. And that was not possible for me. So I had to create new places, spaces, and affiliations relationally that meant a new way of life, a new way of being. And so, in this whole idea of bouncing back is, according to the APA Help Center, it's a adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress. I know more about that. It's more about adapting well in the face of adversity. That is a process. It takes a long time for some of us. And like I said, I've spent the better part of my life, over 40 years of my adult life, building on the resilience and the belief that I am someone who is of great value and has purpose. That gives me the strength that I need, the resilience that I need to grow and to recover and to heal.
Yes. Thank you so very much, Charlotte. I can't say it enough how much I agree with her, and what she's saying is true for many of us. Because in a nutshell, to just say that it's a tendency to bounce back is, I don't think it's fair for many of us to say that. And as Charlotte said, to continue our lives, some of us can't continue into where we were. To start back and to continue on is not an option. And I can say that for myself. It just wasn't an option to do that. I needed to change, and I needed to figure out what those resiliency tools were, because that's what it is. It's your faith, it's your hope, it's your desires, it's your needs. And what we do is we take those tools and we braid them in each day as we go on. We incorporate that in our lives, in our everyday, in our thoughts, in our minds, no matter what it is, in order to reach where it is that we have to go, and whatever place we want to be in within ourselves and our lives, in order to live, not to just survive, because that's what many of us are doing. We're just surviving day to day, moment to moment, hour to hour, and we never understand or get the feeling of what it is to just actually live. So, using the word resilience for me is thinking of a tool and a bunch of tools, a bag of tools that I put together for myself, that I've learned from childhood. Now, then I didn't know what that was. It was just a lot of praying, a lot of hoping, a lot of need for change, a lot of grasping in the air and praying and hoping that I get something, grab something on, in order to want to keep going. And for myself, as I mentioned before, it was a lot of resentment, a lot of anger. It was, I mean, it was hostile, but it got me through those first several years of my life, just to push through, just to prove to everyone else that I can do it, that I can survive this, that I'm beyond whatever is happening in my life, that I have a future. And those are the tools that help me even until now, until my adult life, just understanding what that was and being able to say it or write it down is not an easy thing. Um, in different trainings, we get asked, what is your resilience tools? What would you tell somebody that you use so they can, maybe do the same thing or have some input? And honestly, I just said it's just me living, because this is my everyday. My every day is a fight to survive, to want to wake up and be thankful that I did. Um, and I've just learned that maybe the last several months of my life is gratitude, to be happy to wake up, because it's a lot of days I wake up like, oh, here we go again. What is this day going to look like? And days it just doesn't, you just don't want to get out the bed. You don't want to turn over. You don't want your feet to hit the floor. And so having that need to want to do better, to want to get out the bed, I
Mhm.
had to figure out what is that need for, other than for my children, other than for a job. We have to figure out what is it that we need, or I had to figure out what it is that I needed, because doing it for your children is not enough, because they're going to get older and they going to grow up and they have their own lives because they're people. And doing it for somebody else is not a good enough reason for me any longer. So I had to find out what is best for me. What do I need? What does that look like? Is it music? Is it art? Is it dancing? Is it looking myself in the mirror and being honest about what I see? Um, and those are the tools that you all can use. It's going to look different for everybody. There is nothing that I can say to tell you that these are the tools you should use. You have to be able to know what puts a smile on your face and how can you keep that going. You every then do it. If it's something you can say every day, then say it. If it's something that you can think every day, then think it. And trust me, I know that it's hard. I can have affirmations all over the place. Eating pizza and ice cream makes me happy, but it's just days that I won't do it. And I don't know why sometimes, but then I have to be honest, I do. I've been depressed. I've been angry. I've been disappointed. And some days I don't feel like being happy, excited, or feel good. I like feeling how I feel in my feelings. That makes me feel better at that time. And it should be okay. Um, it shouldn't be someone telling you that if you feel bad about something, or you're sad, or you're depressed, or you just can't do it that day, that it's something wrong. I personally don't see anything wrong, because I know at some point in there I'll get up, but that day I just won't. And that should be okay, because maybe your body and your mind just needs that rest. And that's one of my tools. If I need to rest, I will rest. And Charlotte, I talk, so is it anything else on this that you
Yeah,
wanted to speak of?
no, I think you said it, Saida. I think that anyone that is looking for peer support, Saida shared that she's the CEO of Adapt to Healing. She has a Facebook page, and she has an email where you can contact her if you were wanted to. You had questions about our conversation today, or if you're looking into for yourself or someone else, peer support.
Thank you so very much, Charlotte.
You're
And
very welcome.
thank you. Um, and yeah, we just had another definition here to about recovery, to return to a normal state of health and mind or strength, and to find or regain possession of something stolen or lost.
Mm.
And that feels to me that sometimes I feel as though a lot of my childhood have been stolen or lost, and a lot of myself, because I don't know who I would have been now, if my life had been different. I don't know. And that's not something I can dwell on or worry about at this time, because I'm happy with who I am right now. And I continue to fight for my normal state of health, my mind, and my strength going forward.
Mm. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. This here is a quote that I found, and it really spoke to me. It's by Miss Elizabeth Edwards. It says, resilience is accepting your new reality, even if it's less good than the one you had before. You fight it. You can do anything but scream about what you've lost, or you can accept that and try to put together something that's good. Um, and I think that really spoke to me when I first saw it. It spoke to me so much that I went off and I made my own quote for myself, that incorporated not just this idea, but an even bigger idea that I felt for myself. I tried to have the picture as natural as possible. That's how I was feeling the day that that I made it, that I thought of it. So that's there, even though in the future it may change. Resilience is a toolbox that is used to carry tools that are aligned with positive adaptation, determination, faith, and need, that allows you to survive your current reality as we build a new one through recovery in which we not only survive, but may choose to live. So I hope that speaks to someone. It spoke to me. And as time winds down, thank you so very much, Charlotte, for having this discussion with me and everybody that decides to watch. Um, and these are our references from the sites on which we got our information: the Very Well Mind, mentalhealth.gov, basic Google search for resilience and recovery, and positive psychology. Um, did you want to say anything else, Charlotte?
No, but thank you so much for the opportunity to have this conversation with you, Sayy. I really appreciate it. I hope
Yes.
it's helpful to all who are watching.
Thank you so very much again. And I hope we've shed some light or at least got a conversation going about this video. See you all later. Be happy.